and a warm welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Alex Hogue, and I'm going to be your host for the next 90 minutes or so as we explore uh, little animation files and Lottie files. I am joined by Ryan Selvy. Ryan, how you doing?
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on, Alex.
Of course, of course. Well, I'm excited to get into the work. Before we do, for those of you joining us, whether you're on YouTube or Behance, feel free to join in the chat. That little, box on the right there. Pop your name in there. Pop your questions in there for myself, for Ryan, and we will funnel those over with our wonderful moderators. Additionally, be sure to hit the subscribe button over on YouTube at Adobe Live and follow on Instagram at Adobe Live. With that, I guess, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself? Give us some background, what you do for those who don't already know you. So go ahead.
Thanks for the intro. My name's Ryan Selvy. I'm a motion designer, illustrator, and graphic designer. I hop on Adobe Live quite frequently, and I like to create cute animations for both streaming. I do a lot of live streaming, and then I also do motion graphics for explainer videos and overlays and freelance work in between. This is a part of a personal product I have where it's little alien friendly neighbors that everyone gets drawn their own little alien and then becomes part of this universe. But I also have hosted a few offsets, was when I take over Adobe Live and I get to interview people about their process and talk about everything it is to be an artist, from inspiration to process to work to everything in between. So it's great to be here.
Super cool. And what applications are we going to be working in today?
So today we're going to be working in Illustrator and After Effects, and we're going to be going over a thing called Lottie files. And Alex, have you ever heard of Lottie files before?
I haven't, and I work in After Effects quite a bit myself. I'm pretty new to Illustrator. I kind of use it as I need to. So for me, I think I'm going to be learning some stuff here from you, and I know other people will as well. So it's nice to hop between both programs. And yeah, what is a Lottie file?
Yeah, no, I mean, the good thing about it is that it's really easy to learn and they're really helpful. I honestly didn't really know anything about them until about like a year ago. And all they are basically JSON, like not Derulo, but JSON files that you can export directly from After Effects. And then they get placed into apps and websites to natively animate vectors so that it doesn't have to be this gigantic file. Instead, it's just the app running basically the animation on their end. So you can have these really intricate and interactive animations without bogging down your app or website with these huge like GIF files or movie files. You probably come in actually into contact with them a lot. They are used by a lot of really big companies. You know, you have Headspace, they use them in their app. Disney also has them. If you go actually to lottiefiles.com/case studies, you can actually go through and scroll through and you'll see a lot of the ones that you probably have already seen. You have just kind of thought they were animations that were passing on. Duolingo is one of them. And they're just a really good way to add an extra piece of flavor to a website or an app without it being something that completely bogs down the entire process. As someone who has never coded before, I mean, I guess maybe I did like my MySpace background or something. But without that, I know, right? Throwback. I'm 400 years old. But with that, I have a kind of aversion to anything that's code related. Whenever I get there, it kind of my eyes gloss over as much as I want to learn it. And the beautiful thing about Lottie files is that the plugin is completely free to download. You can actually upload a bunch for free too, and you don't have to know any coding. I worked with a developer on a project with Lottie files. The first time I worked on Lottie files, I was really nervous because I thought I wouldn't know what that would look like. And what ended up happening is I just exported it. I copied and pasted text to him. I didn't even send him like a file. I sent him like a text file over to him. He copied and pasted it into the website, and it worked. It's really exciting and interesting, and I'm excited to show you guys how we're gonna go ahead and create a animation today.
So super cool. I love that you mentioned Headspace uses them too, because I just assumed those were, smaller video files, but I guess that's how they get it to load so quickly, is using that. And those animations are great too. So love that.
So
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
today we're going to be working on this cheeseburger animation that we have going on here, and it's
Lunchtime.
all yeah, just to make everyone hungry because over here on East Coast it's 1:30, and it's all shape based animations. I'm going to actually go ahead and I'm also going to pull up the support for what is available and accessible to Lottie animations. It'll go ahead and show you what you can use and what you can't use, and it's a really helpful guide all the time to be able to just see through emojis what you can do and what you can't do. And what I'll do a lot of times is when I'm animating something, I'll just go onto this website and I'll press Control F and I will type in like repeater, and then it'll obviously bring me to the place, and then I can check to make sure that everything is good to go. um, and in this case, you
Okay.
can see repeaters are not supported on iOS. So if I'm looking for an iOS app, then I don't want to do that. But if it's something that's going to be on a website anyway, then I don't really have to worry about it, which is nice.
Oh yeah, that's really good to know that. And what's the best way to find that page again?
So this is at the bottom of just the lottiefiles.com website, and it'll just be under supported features. So you can also even go to lottiefiles.com/supported-features, and it should also bring you there as well, which is nice. And we'll come
Excellent.
back to this as we work through it today. I believe we're on here for an hour and a half, so
Yep.
we've got plenty of time to break down and look what is working and what isn't working. We'll actually also even run into some places where we'll hit something that is not supported, and then we'll have to go ahead and switch it to make it supported. And that's just real life use case, baby. And I'll help you guys get through it.
Awesome. Love that. I do see a ton of people already popping into the chat here. Tamika, Zanab, we got Cody Bear, Robert, everyone. Thanks for joining in, and feel free to funnel those questions. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of them as we go through this. Um, yeah, go ahead and take it away, Ryan. I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Good to see a lot of familiar faces. Thank you guys for being here. And just as Alex said, if you guys have any questions as we're working through this, please by all means, don't be shy about speaking up. Uh, I understand that this isn't, you know, standard for everyone, but it is something that I think that everyone can do. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
And sorry, Ryan, real quick, is the best use case, it sounds like, for these type of files is websites and apps. Is there any other use cases, or is that pretty much the main purpose of these?
To my knowledge, it's mostly websites and apps. I'm not sure where else you would put it in. I don't think you could really implement it into something like a video or motion graphic element that would expand beyond kind of your interaction with an app. But don't quote me on that because it
All right.
might actually
I'm
be
taking
available
notes over
elsewhere.
here. Yeah. Okay.
So right here, I already have some pre-made assets of things that I made when I was actually went through and made the original animation, but I do want to walk through with you guys a few of the things that I did, just so that you guys can do it on your own as well. You can see here that I have a few different things. We have the side burger, we have the side tomato, we also have the patty from the top, which is also something that you can kind of do for your own reference. I knew that I wanted it to flip, so it's easiest to actually go in and kind of have it all laid out like this. But I will go ahead and show you guys a few of the things that I've made. So for the very first thing, we obviously have the patty. I kind of just started off honestly with the bun more so than anything else. And with the bun, all I really did was I went in and I knew that I wanted to create something that felt nice and bubbly, but still had this structure. So I normally start with something like a triangle, and I'll work on one side. I hold down Alt, and you can kind of stretch this out. And then I can also stretch this guy out as well. And then I am a big advocate of being able to use the rounded corners. So you just click on the edge and you can turn it out. I can see that I don't really like how this is already going with the top, so I'll just extend that a little bit more. Don't worry about the right because we'll be going and we'll flip it. But I like to do something just a little bit subtle. And
I can already
then,
see how you made your cheese here as well.
yeah,
That was the first thing
exactly.
I saw as a triangle there. So
Yep. Another good tip is when you're working with shapes like this, and like you'll see that for this one in particular, Illustrator has chosen a brown or yellow sort of outline for um the color of this. You can always go in and you can change the color of the labeling if you want to. But I feel like most times, like I don't even remember how to do it right now because so frequently don't. Oh yeah, if you double click on it, you can change the color to something like, dark blue, and that'll make it a lot easier to see. But faster than that and less clicks, all I normally do is do go Control Y, and that will actually go and change everything into outlines, which is really nice. And it's all just cosmetic, so you're not losing your colors or anything at all. It's just flipping back and forth. Sorry, strobe warning. Um, but I like to do that just so it's easier to see where everything is. And I'll do Control Y. And normally, the way I like to split objects up is I'll go to the Pathfinder, and I'll create another object. We'll go through and under our properties panel over here. By the way, my page is all different than your Illustrator might look. You got to find what works best for you. For whatever reason, I like my layers on the left. A lot of people already have their layers down here, but I like to move things off to the side so that the properties panel can be on the full side, and take up as much space without scrolling. So that's why I have stuff over on the left. But it should all still work the same. If you can't find your Pathfinder, go to Window. There's actually a dialog menu for itself over on Pathfinder like that. And this one just means that you're going to take everything away from the front and only keep what's in the back. So I'm actually going to go off of our secret view. I'll change this to color just for better viewing. But we'll see that we only want to keep what's there, and then we'll get this. Oh, Jack also is in the chat saying JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It's a subset of JavaScript. See, and that's why we keep Jack around. Thank you, Jack.
Someone knows some website stuff. This is all total different language to me. So
right, and that's about as far as I go. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to give the impression that I know much beyond that.
I know copy
like
pasting script, and that's about it. So
yep,
thanks,
that's
Jack.
what I'm best at. And so what I did right there is I just highlighted, I right click, I did a copy duplicate to then replace it to have a mirrored image. And then you can go in here, and if you just highlight both, I'm pressing A to get to the spots where you can kind of adjust these sides. And then I just kind of move back and forth. One thing that's super helpful for me that I learned later in life was when you have these different objects kind of spaced apart and you want to bring them together at the same time, you can highlight the anchor points. And then if you press S, you'll see that you have the center section that you have right here. And then I can bring it in and bring it back, and it will bring it equidistant in and out of a location. So if I want it to be a little bit shorter, I can go like that, and it makes the bun a little bit, more condensed.
What was that? So, you're just hitting S on there?
Yeah, so I highlight the nodes or the points that I want to move, and then I press S, which is just scale. So if I were to not click just the anchor points, I clicked everything, and then I hit S, it'll actually just scale the whole thing. But when you're working with anchor points, you can just mess around with it. And so there's no set rule on what this shape needs to be. I just created one that I thought I would like how it looked. This one I was playing with a bit. You can go in and you can soften up some of these corners. Sometimes I go in, I'll even get rid of the rounded corners that I made, and I'll just go and kind of add some wonkiness to it so it feels a little bit more natural, because obviously all buns are not completely symmetrical. And just play around until it gets to a place that you like, and then we'll go from there. So what I did next after that is I knew it needed to be something that could lay on the bottom of the bun too, so that it could be a happy couple.
Just put the two together. Yeah.
Yep. And so what I'll do here is I normally like to go back into my mode again, just so I can see the center. When you hover around, it will give you these nice little guides. And I went into the ellipse tool, which is up here. If it's not an ellipse, it could be a rectangular tool. You just hold down onto it, and it'll get you there. You can also alternatively press L, and that'll get you there. And so I like to click that. And as I drag, you can see it comes out from the side. If you hold the Alt button, it will make it so it comes out of the center, which is nice. Alternatively, or additionally, you can also hold down Shift, and it will keep everything nice and clean as a full circle, but we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Alt so it comes out from the center, but then I'm just going to meet the edges here and bring it down so that it can be somewhat of a bottom bun. and then we'll drag it like there.
I don't know why bottom bun just makes me laugh there.
Brought to you by Bottom Buns. um,
Kendall in the chat says, love the Lottie stuff. I'm curious,
mm,
Kendall, what do you use them for the most? Let us know.
um, and then also hi to Kendall. Good to see you. Kendall's another motion designer that's also frequently in the Adobe atmosphere, so it's good to see you. Now, Alex, I know when we started off, you mentioned that you do some video editing and some motion graphics of your own. What kind of work do you do?
Oh, we don't need to talk about me now. I do just all sorts of video production, editing. I am frequently working in After Effects for a lot of graphics stuff. It'll be more like maybe not quite this level of graphics. Like I could animate all this and everything, but the design part of drawing all this and everything is not my forte. But I do all kinds of documentary work, action sports stuff, a lot of drone work, that sort of stuff. So
Oh, very
yeah,
cool.
all
I was watching a guy
handful of
that
clients now. So
all his what clients?
oh, just a handful of different clients. I've kind of done every form of video and advertising under the sun at this point. So
And your favorite you think is sports probably?
I like to do stuff for a cause, stuff that's
Oh, yeah.
meaningful to me, and I'm a very active outdoors person. So anytime I can do that kind of stuff is great. I worked for GoPro for about 7 years, and now I've been running my own business for the last 2.5 years, and I stick with a lot of the same work just because it's interesting and it's fun, and I try to keep it that way, but it doesn't always work out that way. So yeah, thanks for
That makes
asking.
sense. That's the freelance self-employed life, or business life, owner life. Well, I hope that today we can find a way to also get you even more into graphic stuff, because you'll see that it's much of a learning curve as anything else. It's like you just get the basics and you kind of just repeat it over and over again, and all of a sudden you have something to work with. But
Yeah, I think my favorite is just learning, and I mean, with any realm of the Adobe suite, is just learning how different people use their shortcuts, hotkeys, those little tips that you pick up. Those are really the things that kind of elevate you to the next level and get it done a lot quicker. So I mean, I'm almost like, let's take notes, let's post these, let's make sure everyone knows about this because it just speeds it up so much. Yeah.
Yeah. And if anyone has any questions as I hit things, if anything magically appears, please don't hesitate from hopping in chat saying, "What did you just do?" And I will try to articulate exactly what it is. Sometimes I just do it without thinking. But you guys will see. So we took this circle that we took from the bun, and from it I scaled it down, and then I just connected it unceremoniously with a pen tool situation. So now if we hop into our Control Y, we can see that there is this series of shapes, and I want to make them as one. But I also want to go through, and I like the fact that I have this angle of the circle. So I'm going to hold down Alt, and Alt will just copy things for you. So if you hold down Alt and you click and you drag, I'm just going to move it over here for my own reference, so we can come back to this if we want. But now we have these three shapes that we want to all be together. I am very much a big user of the Pathfinder, as I was just saying, and you can click here and go to Path to Unite. But I also know that a lot of people really tend to like this shape builder tool. And what you can do here is you just draw like a little squiggly line through everything you want to bring together, and it will do the same exact thing. So it's two means to an end, but whatever works best for you. And you can also go in here and you can see that there's some different key points here that you might want to change. And so you could even also go to simplify if you wanted to bring it up or down. It'll show you how it modifies it as you go along if you wanted to get rid of those. But let's say it's like here, and this gives us like 4 points. Now it's a much easier shape to deal with, but that might affect also our top little area, but I don't think so. I think we should be good. So I can even just move that back up here, and I'll change that to a lighter color. I just did that by doing the eyedrop tool, by the way, to something that we already had, but otherwise you can just go in and you can just change the color here. And then, yeah, we have your happy bottom bun.
And this might be a good point. So at this, we're just kind of getting into the start of this, but maybe go ahead and recap just what we've done so far and then what we're going to be continuing to do.
Absolutely. Great point. Also, good point to whether you're working with us or not working with us, make sure you guys save your work. You never know if you're going to have a power outage or something weird happen with your computer. So save as you go. But so far, we've just worked with the pen tool. We've used that by repeating it onto the other side with symmetry tool, and then taking that and breaking it down to also add the bottom bun. we're going to be in just a little bit getting to a point where we can then bring these objects into After Effects and animate them accordingly. But we're working on a Lottie file, and the Lottie file is a, oh wait, I learned this. It is a JavaScript object notation, which is a fancy way of just saying text for your app or your website to run an animation. And
Thanks.
I'm
Thank you,
excited
Jack.
to show you guys. Thank you, Jack. So we have our top bun, our bottom bun. What does everyone in chat like to have on their burgers, by the way? I'm very much a lettuce, tomato, onion, cheese guy. How about you? Do you eat burgers, Alex?
I love burgers. I'm hoping nobody in the chat's gluten-free though, because we might have to scratch everything we've done so far.
We'll just have it be a gluten-free bun. You know, they're getting better these days.
True. That's true. There you go. All right, save the day. I like cheese and bacon. You know.
Oh, bacon. Yeah, no, I like bacon. I like to also put on some guac sometimes.
Okay, I'm not on the guac train.
Not on the guac train.
I'm gonna hear the comments for that one, but
no, I get that though. It's a choice.
Caramelized onions, says Cody Bear. That's a good call.
Caramelized.
Yeah.
That's good.
Caramelized
I'll do either raw or caramelized.
Some blue cheese crumbles or something. Love it or hate it. I don't know. I'm a fan.
Next up, I'm going to also do using the blob tool brush, which is just over here. It's next to your ellipses. Also, once again, it might just be under your paintbrush tool if you want there. You can use Shift B to get there if you want. But it's really cool. You can, create these blobs if you want, and then it will turn it into a fully outlined vector, which is cool with a bunch of different shapes. But I like to do it a lot of times when I'm working with something like this lettuce that I want to have. And you can go and you can use your brackets on your keyboard right next to your O and your P to bring the brush up and down in size that you'd like. And I like to just go in here and get nice and loose and maybe make something that kind of looks like a lettuce leaf. And then you can either take the time and diligently color it in, or you could also go in, of course, and always make it a option. I'll show you. I can do this. I'm gonna just delete this inside of this compound path.
And Ryan, are you using a mouse or are you on a tablet?
I am on a tablet. You don't need a tablet necessarily to do like a little lettuce leaf thing, but I definitely did just I should have just told you I was on a mouse. Blob.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should have just drawn something beautiful.
You've been practicing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And for this, just to the sake of time, this isn't a very pretty leaf, but you guys get how I got here. Eventually, I played around with it enough. Alternatively, you don't have to use the blob brush. I just think it's a fun way to incorporate it. You could also go in here and do something with the pen tool, where you create a really nice leaf.
I also like that the approach to all this is kind of fun in general. I mean, the whole idea of these files and everything, the actual type of artwork we're looking at is just very playful and fun. So
yeah,
it makes
absolutely.
the process more fun too. You can kind of do whatever you want.
I like to keep this circle here just as a reference. You can see that it also replicates over in the patty. So what I do to create the patty here is I would just copy this circle because I want it to be of the same. And there's a few different ways you could do this. I like to just copy it and kind of create a disc, like a hockey puck a little bit. You can go in, and this is very similar to the bottom bun. You could do something like this if you'd like. Alternatively, I mean, I think that one's the easiest personally, but there are a few different things you could do. You could take it like this long, and you could go to Object, Blend, and Make. And what blend will do is it doesn't matter what the two objects are, as long as you go to blend, you can have it morph between two objects. And then when you go to blend options, you can decide if you want to do specified color or state steps or distance. So we can say that maybe I want like 30 steps here. Then you can see that it is literally just taking it and copying the circle so many times that it then completes it. And then when you're done with what you want it to be, you click expand, and then you'll see that it has now outlined all of those crazy circles. And you can go in here and once again use the Pathfinder or the Shape Builder tool to then have a puck of sorts, which is nice. And similar to how we worked with the bun, if you now copy that top circle again, you can then have a section where you have the top and the side, which is nice. By the way, whenever anything's like in the back like this and it just magically appears, what I'm doing is I'm holding Control Shift. Click on my object and doing Control Shift and right bracket. And you can see over here in the layers panel, when I do that, it moves it from the bottom all the way up to the very top of that group layer. And it'll do it just within the layer. So if you still have that layer underneath other layers, then it's not going to pop up. But that's a good way to have things pop up in between when you want to.
Awesome. Great little tips along the way.
Once again, that's also because we did a weird way with the making. It has all of these. So we'll just go ahead and I'll once again do the thing with this guy and we'll bring it over. And then we'll bring it together. Now, another way we can do to add a little bit more life to this puck is if you hold down Shift, and or maybe is it just the tilde key? No, yeah, Shift and the tilde key. And the tilde key is the button left of the number 1 on your keyboard. It's a little squiggly line. It will let you go ahead and play with the curvature of a line, which is nice. So you can go in.
Cool. Yeah, I actually didn't know that. That's fun.
Yeah, you can plop it out like that if you'd like. And once again, that's something where you can go in and you could potentially mess around. I'm holding down Alt to mess with this anchor point to have it bring it in and out. And then eventually, you can get something that is going to be aligned with the rest of your stuff. The reason I have this up here is that if we look at our animation, we have a flip that happens. And if we slow it down a lot, we can see that it's actually just, we're playing a little trick. It's not flipping at all. It's not really in a 3D space.
Exactly, yeah.
But we don't have to worry about that because we know it's going to be happening fast. We know that it's going to be hidden by other objects. So you don't have to be perfect about it. And so what we did here actually is there's a mask inside of this. And you can see that the patty is actually its own pre-comp with the cheese. And it has a few other of these things on the inside. And we'll get into that in just a second. But as we were talking about earlier, if we go over to the supported features and we're building out our object, we can go ahead and we can check to make sure that mats are approved. And we can see that some of the mats are not improved in Android or Windows. Wow. So another solution to a mat would be a mask. And we can see that when we look at masks, all mask paths and opacity are all supported everywhere. So if we can make the option to make it a mask, then that's going to be better for interoperability of different elements that you can create. So we're going to want to keep that in mind when we're going into After Effects.
So if you're making this for a client, are you asking them specifically where this is going to live so you know what things, or are you just constantly looking across the board? It needs to have a little thumbs up on every single one of these.
Yeah,
what's your approach?
My preferred approach would be that it is one of the ones that is kind of supported everywhere, because then if they want to use it somewhere else, it doesn't break the whole process of it. And it just makes it so it's easier for them to use in the long run. But if they're only going to be specifically using it on a website or something, I think that you can get away with stuff because you can create some cooler things if you're not bound by the limitations of the format. But yeah, I guess that's just clear communication with you and your client. One last thing we can probably do before we hop on over to After Effects is you guys can see that I didn't flip the tomato in the animation. I kind of originally was thinking about it, but then it was proving to be a little bit too tricky to fit in with everything else. It would be a little too crowded. So it ends up staying on its side, but it was created through the process of a top-down approach, which is how we kind of get these side piece symbols to a tomato slice. So I did that pretty easily by just creating a circle with the ellipse tool. I'm pressing Control C and then Control Shift V to paste in place, pressing S, bringing it down. And that makes the inner circle that we have here. And what I ended up doing was I just, and Jack might come in here and actually to tell me the proper way to do this. But
we're waiting, Jack.
I like to go in with a line as showcased here, and I'll click this, and then I'll press R, and then I'll click Alt on the inside. And what we want to do is we want to have 360 divided by 3, because then it'll do the math for us, which is 120. And you can see, oh, I didn't press copy. I pressed, okay, so I press R and Alt, and we'll click it. You can do the math inside of here, 360 divided by 3, and we'll do copy, which will then create this side, and then press Control D, it'll happen again. So now we have 3 perfect circle segments. You can also do this by going to creating a circle graph with the graph creator in Illustrator, but for this one, I just like the shapes of it. So normally I'll go here, I'll do something like I'll join these lines, and with Control J, delete this guy because he's getting in the way. We actually don't need this third one because we're only going to be using the other one. And with Y selected, Control J, it's yelling at me because I'm selecting these dudes.
Ryan, while you're doing this, I do have a question coming in from Aniket in the chat. And
yeah,
I
sure.
think this kind of, actually, it's kind of a question for you as well. I'm curious how you got started in all this and really, started diving into all this and then make it into your daily job. And the question is, should I create a portfolio where I present some experimental work with graphics, or should I create projects where each one has a purpose?
Oh, okay.
What's your take on that?
I think that the one biggest piece of advice that I would definitely give out is only put things in your portfolio that you want to do. Don't put things in your portfolio just because you think you're supposed to put them in there, because then someone's going to hire you to do those things. And that's not something, like, then you're stuck doing it. And I guarantee you the thing that you don't want to do that you put in your portfolio is the thing that you're going to be hired for. And then you're stuck doing that. And then people will, it completes its whole process of you just keep getting hired for the same thing, because then you have more work in your portfolio of the thing that you don't like, and it just grows and grows and grows.
That was the perfect answer. I 100% feel the same way, even in my line of work with video. I do tons of video that I don't really care to show anyone, but it keeps the lights on. But the stuff that goes in my portfolio is the stuff I want to do.
Exactly.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you, Aniket. I hope I'm saying your name right. Sorry if I'm not.
But there's nothing wrong with doing fake work for clients that you make up, or you kind of thing. When I was art director at an agency back in the day, I looked at a lot of different portfolios, and my big takeaway wasn't always like, oh, did they honestly work on this client? It more so was like, does this work fit into the work that we're doing? And if that's the work that you want to be doing, and you want to be working on these clients, and you like want to have certain approaches, then that by all means is such a great way to showcase that. And I have a friend that's a muralist, and she hadn't really gotten commissioned to do any murals, but then she superimposed them onto different walls just through like Photoshop, and then she began getting jobs, and she was fully able to make those murals, but she was able to kind of start her career by showcasing the things that she wanted to do, and then she made it happen. So definitely don't be afraid to make your own projects.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also got a piece of advice from someone a long time ago. I won't say any names because they're still in the industry, but it's kind of a mixed bag. But a lot of times multiple people will be involved on a project, and I know when I first started out, I might be afraid to share that project and really call it mine. And of course, maybe you can't call it entirely yours, but don't be afraid to say, post it on a portfolio that you have and say, hey, I did this. And whoever the client is, that your prospective client or employer, let them ask what you did on it, because you did play a big role in it, and you should share that work. And that's going to help elevate you and get you to that next level.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. Because I mean, you look at, I don't know, the new Marvel movie, and not one person made the whole thing, but if you worked on it, you should be able to point to it. Obviously, that is a dramatically large example.
That's a perfect example, though. That's exactly it. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people work on this kind of stuff. So.
And people want to hear about how you work in teams, because when you work in teams, that's something that's useful to teams to know that you're a team player. Like, so much of getting a job and maintaining a job, especially in the creative field, is yes, your portfolio, but your ease of work and your reliability probably trumps all of that, honestly. Um, just being able to work with other people goes the longest out of anything that I know. So real quick here for what we did, we were talking a little bit while I was doing it, but I ended up creating a shape, and then we went back to our rotation tool again by pressing R. When I went into Control Y, I was able to see my centers. So I was able to click into the center and click Alt. It brought up this. It still had our angle from previous. I just did copy twice. And then through that, we have a little cute tomato now. Now, I like to copy and move forward rather than do some non-backwards events. So I'll normally copy and put off to the side. And then I like to go and grab this circle because I know that that's what I want to match it to. I'll highlight all of this. I'll hold Alt and we will drag it down. And I will try to make it match along the same sides as this. That way, when we scale it, it then feels normal. We're going to do Control Shift side bracket. It's not in the same layer, so I'll press Control X. I'll go into here, Control Shift V. And that was the reason I did Control X and Control Shift V, was just to switch between layers over here. You can also click and drag if you'd like to. And now it looks like we have a cute little side tomato, and we'll do the same thing.
I was going to say a tasty tomato, but cute works too.
Yeah, cute makes it a little bit less edible, doesn't it? Because then you feel bad about it, I guess. So we'll say tasty. Cool. So then we have a side tomato, and you can make that as up and down as you want, what have you. And you're gonna do this basically for all of your objects. You'll do the same thing for patties as we did. You have this for the patty, and here we'll be playing with these 3 squares in a little bit. We did our lettuce. For the cheese, you can either do a triangle, or you can see that for this case, I think I even used a square, just like this, and then went to rotate, made it into a diagonal, and then selected these 2, used our little S trick to then put it to the side. And then if we want to, we can even go ahead and bring in the corners to make it a little bit more round. And that can be individual or all 4 at the same time. When it's a diamond like this, normally you're going to want to kind of make it like this. Now, are you a cheddar cheese guy, or what kind of cheese? You said blue cheese before, right?
Oh, I like, blue cheese is nice, but I'm a sharp cheddar guy, if I'm entirely honest.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You could also even go in here.
Good
if
stuff.
You wanted to, you could go in with a circle. Do you want to make some like Swiss cheese or something, and use that Pathfinder, pull some out, get creative if you want. You can make it whatever kind of cheese you want. You do some pepper jack if you want by adding some other elements to it. But just for this case, we'll just make it a good old classic American cheese. One last thing we have is these little sesame seeds. And I just made that honestly by using the pen tool and creating it. Little tiny guys, pressing V for my cursor, and then just copying it and moving it around, and what have you.
I do have to say, I appreciate that you made separate instances of all the seeds, as opposed to just like implementing them on the bun. Even in your animation, you kind of going up there. That's really kind of going the extra mile, and I think it adds to it.
Thanks. And you'll see actually what I ended up doing, even with the seeds in our animation, is I ended up, after we import them into After Effects, I ended up like taking half of them and making them move separately, just for that added element of like extra animation. So even when I slow it down, you can't even see it. So maybe it was a waste of time. But I like to know it's there.
It's okay. I do the same stuff. I think it adds to it. It's good, and it really shows that you went the extra mile on it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
I feel like there's so many things that we as editors, I guess, or designers do that a lot of people daily life won't notice it, but they're like, hey, that looks really good, and they couldn't exactly point out why. And I feel like that's one of those things. They're like, I don't really know what it is, but it just feels good.
Got that magic sauce.
It looks tasty.
Okay, so we have basically everything. Oh, I guess I could go over the onions real quick. The way that I did the onions was pretty simple. Very similar to everything else. I took the circle. I think I turned it into a stroke. Increased my stroke. And then I changed the outlines to shapes by going to object, path, outline stroke. Turns it into that. And then all I did was just same technique as everything else. I went and I copied it and made it lower, put it below. And then I went ahead and did the same technique as I did before, where, you can just like copy and paste it up to like connect it as you will. And it gives that idea of like a 3D onion. And then I just rotated it on the side for that.
How
Okay.
long did you spend doing this entire, I guess, animation and design?
I want to say maybe like 3 hours, maybe 2-3 hours, just from absolute beginning to absolute end. And so that's why I am flying through a few of these things, just because I want to make sure that we can get through all of it. But
Yep, of course. Yeah,
a
we got
lot of that's
about
also
50 minutes or so still.
yeah, it's all
45
your
minutes.
attention to detail. It's all as where you want to put the pretty parts and what parts you don't think other people will notice. But yeah, so we have all of these, and so now the big important thing to do, and you can see it on here as the ones that already is we're gonna go through and make sure that every single thing is properly labeled in its own layer. And with After Effects and Illustrator, when you implement an Illustrator file into After Effects, it is going to ask you how you want to import it. And the best way for me for these animation is to import it with layers and retain layer sizes. So when you bring it into After Effects, rather than it just being shape 1, shape 2, shape 3, shape 4, if you go in and you label all of the layers properly, then when you're going to go into After Effects, you're going to have a much better time. I'm going to delete our new ones just so that it all comes together. But you can make sure that you're doing a good trick to see what's on everything. If you hold down Alt and you click, it will make everything else disappear except for what's in that layer. So I alt clicked this grill marks and see that we have this new tomato and patty that we made. I don't want that to be a part of it. And then if I want to go back, I just alt click it again and it will make everything visible as it was. But you'll see I have cheese, seeds, top bun, bottom bun, lettuce, onion, grill marks, patty, tomato top, tomato side, patty side. Puck is just my reference of a side piece, and circle reference just to have that. And save it as a cheeseburger as is. So then when it's
Rollin says 3 hours to set it up. Much quicker to just order a Big Mac.
oh yeah, this is true. This is true.
Love that.
This is way more of an expensive Big Mac than maybe a McDonald's Big Mac. Okay, so you guys can see here that I already have it kind of built out, but we have some time, so I'm going to go and show you guys how I would do this if I was just creating something on my own. So let's go to a new project, and we're not going to save it, which is scary, but we're going to do that. And I am going to go ahead and find this file saved on my computer in my awesome organized file structure that I'm not going to show you guys.
And while Ryan's doing this, for anyone on the Behance side of things, go ahead and look over to that chat box on the right side. And if you have someone that you want to recommend to be on stream here, there's a little button there for guest recommendations. So if you know someone, or maybe you yourself are interested in kind of doing what Ryan's doing here, we'd love to have you. Go ahead and just tap that button, and we'll get you set up and we'll get you on here.
Roland, I agree with you with ketchup and mayo. Mike is dissing the mayo, but I like mayo on my burgers. So
Mike says hold everything. He's got special orders.
Yeah, he does have special orders, and especially if it's in a movie, he'll let you know. He'll know all the orders of all the characters in the movies. So you'll see I have my cheeseburger.ai, and all you really have to do is you can click and drag it into your project, and this dialog menu will pop up. It says import kind, footage, or composition. Footage will flatten it all, as you guessed, into like a footage file, and it will feel way more like a video or just a static JPEG. But we want to do it as a composition. And then we have even more dialogue choices here. We can either do layer size or document size. If you follow Evan Abrams, he will do document size. He likes to have it as the full composition so that if he updates the Illustrator file, it will then properly update the After Effects file. Mine, I like to do layer size because I like to have them all as individual layers. And if I update it back over in Illustrator, when I come back into After Effects, it might be out of place. But more times than not, I'm mostly entirely done when I'm over with Illustrator, or I know that I can just like modify a little bit. So it comes down to preference. But in my opinion, I like layer size. So I'll click that and it'll make everything just be bound by its own layer size. And you can see now we have all of our elements, and they're all Illustrator files. Now, because we're working in Lottie, we're going to have to make these all into shape files, which is really easy. But in order to do that first, I actually just kind of want to go and make my cheeseburger first. So let's hop on into that. Did you have a cheeseburger on? Are you in the? Oh yeah, you're in the States, right, Alex?
Yep. Yeah, I'm out in Oregon. You're in New York, right?
I'm in New York. Did you have a cheeseburger this Memorial Day?
Gosh, I don't even remember what I had for dinner last night. You're really challenging me here.
All right.
No, I did grill. It wasn't exactly on Memorial Day, but yes, that weekend. Yeah. Yeah. How about
Perfect.
you? Are you a cheeseburger guy? I mean, clearly.
Cheeseburger and hot dogs. Gotta have it, you know?
There you go.
But I definitely did not grill them because my boyfriend says that I could burn a pot of water, and he's not wrong.
That's
so
impressive. Yeah, probably for the best.
Yep.
Awesome.
Roland says, "Bring me on." I've got Creative Cow's YouTube.
Yep.
A big shout out to Creative Cow for posts in forums that are back from like 2004, solving some weird obscure issue that you have no idea how to fix, and somebody talked about it.
Yeah, you could pretty much have any error that you come up with, do a Google search, and you'll find something popping up on Creative Cow.
Something Creative Cow
at least the last decade.
Exactly. The older the better, honestly.
If you guys are just joining us, we are here with Ryan, and he's absolutely crushing it. We are making hamburgers here, but not the kind that you eat, the kind that you look at. And yeah, he's making a small animation. He's kind of so far showed us how to, I guess, design the whole hamburger in Illustrator. And we just now switched over to After Effects, where he's going to animate it into a teeny tiny little file called a Lottie file. So I'm excited. Let's see how you do this. So you brought everything in, and then yeah, what's step one for? I guess first off, tell me, how did you decide how you wanted this to animate? What was that process? Did you just know from designing it, you just wanted to have it stack and come down?
Yeah, I was trying to think of something simple that could be something with shapes but still stay interesting. So that's why I kind of landed on the cheeseburger, and it was also I was planning for it around Memorial Day. So that was something that happened, and then I actually, if there's a famous piece, Bite Burger, for Bite Burger, and it is by the artist. Let's see. Oh, well, this is recreated. From that was featured on Amiga. I'll see this. But it has a floppy disk in it. Oh, wow. Which, yeah, obviously archaic and it's
throwback.
But it's very cool. It obviously has some elements of it kind of exploding that aren't present in the one that we have. And you could, if you wanted to hop into it, but that'll add some more elements. But I thought that would be really cool to kind of just have it expand and contract. It's also funny because I was thinking of somewhat of like a hamburger menu, because you could use Lottie files for hamburger menus, but obviously this would be a little bit too much and a little bit crazy.
Love it. And
Aniket. Oh,
yep,
sorry.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead. You got it.
Aniket, for your question about how I'm bringing things up and down, I'm just using Control and the brackets. And if you hold down Shift, you can bring it all the way to the top. Control Shift right bracket or Control Shift left bracket, and it'll bring it all the way to the bottom. And that just helps so I can organize how it is. And for those of you new to After Effects, your timeline panel down here works just like it would in Illustrator, where the things on the top are going to be at the top and things on the bottom are going to be at the bottom. So it's just nice to have those things. So we now have our weirdly organized burger. I realized this also while I was creating it. I didn't know what order to put it in. I know Burger King had their little song back in the 80s, but I don't remember it because I wasn't alive. So
I'm not aware of the Burger King song. I would love to know if people in our chat
I'm
know
sure
the
Mike
Burger
knows
King
it.
song.
Okay, so we have all these, and as I said, with a Lottie file, we're going to want it to all be shapes and not a linked vector. So fortunately, After Effects makes that really easy. And all you have to do is you just highlight all of your work, you right click or two finger click if you're on a MacBook, or what is it, like Windows? I mean, like Mac key click or whatever. And you can do create shapes from vector layer. And when you
Mac
do
key
that,
click. Is that the official term?
command key, I guess. Apple key. I haven't had an Apple in a while, and I miss it, but it's been a minute. I will say I had a MacBook for a very, very long time, and then I got this computer back in 2019, and the language curve of keyboard shortcuts changing was infuriating for about a month because I was still just muscle memory doing the old ones, and they're a little bit different on Windows. They're very similar, but a bit different.
And I noticed in your layout here, you got a new feature up there. Do you want to chat on that really quick? That little properties panel?
That's public, right? That's
Yeah.
public.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
cool,
it's
cool.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I
I
didn't
just
want
figured
to
we'd
put
we'd
something
touch
on
on it
blast.
because that is in the new version here. That's something that's
Oh,
new for After Effects.
it's changed my life already. It is so incredible. It's essentially the same properties panel as like a Illustrator properties panel, and as you click between things, it will give you all the contents. It will give you the main like properties. I can go in here and I can change the fill color. I can go in and turn on the stopwatch for the keyframes for the path, which is that is the one that blew my mind the most, because that previously, if I want to do the same exact thing, I had to twirl down. Well, this is already doing it now because I have it selected. But so I go to contents, go to group, go to path, and then click path. So that's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks that is now replaced with 1 or 2 clicks.
Yeah,
And
huge addition.
oh my god, best update. I can never go back. Very excited about it. And you'll see as I click on different things, it will move around. And similarly, just to Illustrator, this I think by default is over here in this stacked up area with your effects, but I want to have it be able to be fully accessible, so I have all of it, and then I have my align down here because I use align a lot. But outside of that, I just like to have as much real estate as I can for it. So we then have now all of these layers that are copies of the Illustrator files that we have here. I normally go through and I just delete the Illustrator files now. And then we want to start animating our burger. So what I'll do here is I am a big fan of nulls and parents and links, but with this scenario, it's going to be a lot of items moving on their own accord. So like you could do a null and attach it all and have it fly up, but then as one thing starts to descend, everything would also descend and you'd have to counteract it. So in my case, what I ended up doing is I honestly just kind of animated them all on their own. So it's good to first kind of identify how long of a animation you want it to be. I like 2 seconds. It's long enough for you to do interesting things, but also not, so long that it'll be exhausting. So I'll go through and I'll hold the position keyframe down by clicking it here. You can also, if you wanted to, you could click it over here in the new properties panel. I like to go up here and switch it to maybe its peak point. And when you do that, as long as you're advanced in the timeline, it will then also add it. And then I'll go ahead and I'll go back to the beginning and I'll copy and I'll paste the same thing. And we can see that it goes up and back down as we want. But as we saw earlier, it's kind of nice if it pops up, stays where it is, and then goes back down. So I will go ahead and extend to here, copy and paste that. And then we can see here that it holds and goes back down. We could even do something where maybe it stays sagging on the bottom for a second, so it doesn't actually go the full 2 seconds. So up, hold, down, hold, up, hold, down, hold. And we can always obviously get into curves as you want, but just to keep things simple, we can right click keyframe assist, easy ease in, go here, easy ease out. And you'll see that as we add these easy eases, um, easy eases for the cheeses, you can make it so it feels a little bit more fluid. And just to show you guys, so this is what it looks like with those eases on. And then I'm going to select everything and click Control and click it to get rid of them. And you'll see how it feels way more.
Yeah, so it kind of ramps it in as opposed to being linear.
Exactly. And if you want to modify that or change it, you can go into the graph editor tool. But since we only have like 20 minutes left, we're not going to spend time on there.
Yep.
Look up some YouTubes and stuff for this. It is helpful. You can go in and change value or speed and what have you, and you can do some really cool stuff. There's also some great extensions out there that you can get through the Adobe Marketplace and other marketplaces to make it a lot easier on you. But check that out.
Definitely.
So now we're going to kind of keep this all under the same ideas. And so I'm going to go here and navigate to the next spot. We're going to put everything just kind of in its place so that we can rely on it to at least follow some sort of order. And we can do the same things here where we switch these to easies out.
Is your composition size for this? Are you just going off of like what a phone screen would be, or how do you decide that?
So for this one, it's just based off right now off of the artboard that we have for our Illustrator when we were throwing things around. Also, hi Becca, welcome to the chat.
Yeah.
But what I like to do normally is I animate it and don't have myself bound to any sort of composition. And then once I get it to a good place, I will go down here to this region of interest. And what you can actually do is you can click and drag. And so like in this case, we'll go like here. And then you go to composition, you can go crop comp to region of interest. And then it'll make it so that you kind of just have it cropped into a good spot. Obviously, if you're designing directly for like an iPhone screen and you know it's going to take up the whole space, you can do that. Or specific dimensions for your client, you can always do that. But for something like this, it's kind of being created to be placed anywhere. So we have a little bit more flexibility as to what the final composition size can be.
Right. And the Lottie files are going to be carrying alpha channel with them, so you can have transparency on there, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we have this kind of hopping up and down. We're going to do the same thing with our onion outlines here. Now you can see that our onion outlines, we have these different groups. And one thing that we're going to run into, you'll see, is that in the groups, we have a merge path. Now, the cool thing you can do actually is you can just delete these merge paths and literally nothing happens. They're just put in there from the way that it kind of outlines them and tries to create them. But merge paths are not supported by Lottie. But the good news is everything else is fine with it. So when you look at the onion outline, since we have two of them in here and we want to make it more interesting, there are different levels of transform. Also, I'm going to bring this up just a little bit. It's going to make our composition smaller, but you guys should be able to see a little bit more of what's going down here. And our transforms right here will all be directly tied to the group that they are controlling. And what I like to do actually here is, since there's 4 groups, we know that they're getting a little goofy. By the way, we're going to use the same exact... well, actually, we don't even have to. You see this little circle here? Solo hides all non-solo video. If we click that, it will make everything else invisible. So we only look at what we're working on. And we can see that if we look at group 1 and group 2, and we were like to make both of those invisible, that those are the same onion. So I'll right click that, and I'll just create a group of this, and I'll rename it something easier for me to understand. And I'll say right onion. And
now, would you ever color code your labels here, like make your cheese orange?
Yes, I absolutely would, which is a great choice, just to kind of keep things under wraps. So you can go over here, you can just change it to whatever you want. Do orange. Do we have a yellow? We also have a yellow. Yeah. You can do some patties, make that like what, red? That'd be too much tomato, right? Do we have a brown?
Yeah, all just makes it a little easier on the eyes to, you know,
absolutely. Spoken like a true video editor.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, please, please, I have to open your file, please.
Oh
I definitely
yeah.
feel with you on that one. Um, I like cannot find any of my greens here. There's a lime, right? No
And
greens right
if
there.
anyone's hopping in now, we're here with Ryan, and he's making some Lottie files, and those are basically really tiny animations. If you missed the beginning portion, this will be up on the platforms afterwards, so you can go back and rewatch at your own pace. And Ryan is the master here. He's been going over all kinds of shortcuts, so definitely be sure to go back and check those out. Take notes if you missed any of it.
Take notes. There'll be tests after.
Mm-hmm.
I wish. Wouldn't that be fun if we had like little like quizzes and stuff we could do after Adobe Live?
We could do a little poll at the end, actually.
It'd be fun. All right. So we have our onions, and now we have them as two different groups. And as I was kind of pointing out earlier, is we have this transform that is above everything else, like as far as the file structure goes. And so if we edit this transform's position, it will move everything in that layer, which is what I kind of want to do when we are messing with this hop up and down. So we're going to go in here and we'll raise this all the way up. And we're going to do the same sort of thing where I'm going to copy and paste these two. And then you can right click, keyframe assist, time reverse keyframes. So I just copied it. And then I was like, I want this one to be this one and this one to be that one. And same sort of thing. Go here, easy ease in. Go here, easy ease out. And actually, as of like last year's updates, you could also, even if you wanted to, you could change the label and you can change these to
Yes.
like purple.
I actually love that.
Oh, it made me so happy. It's another one of those. It's just
I
like
was waiting for it for so long, and then it came out. And I was
so
like, yes.
long.
And I know right now we got maybe about 20 minutes or so left. And I know you didn't want to go over the easing stuff, but for anyone that is interested in learning more of that, we do right after this have another Adobe legend. Pixie P will be on, and she is going through a Adobe After Effects little kind of course covering the basics of animation. I'd be willing to bet that she's going to be talking about that. So just
Pixie P,
stick
she's
around
great.
afterwards. Yeah, she's awesome.
Her energy is so much fun. She makes you excited over the most boring things. Like you could be talking about like expressions for like JavaScript, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've never had so much fun.
Love it. Yeah. So we're gonna be living in After Effects for a little while.
So you can see that kind of as it stands, it kind of feels a little bit too static, and this is why we didn't do nulls. So this is with the beauty of when we can kind of start to mess with the order of operations. So if we just extend this maybe like 2 frames, we'll see that it kind of drags a little bit more, but with that drag makes it way more exciting. And one of the reasons why I was talking about the hierarchy of transform layers is that if you go to contents and you go to your right onion, left onion, you will have another transform one just for that. So if we adjust that, it will adjust the whole onion. And if you want, what you can do is you could add a little bit of lag maybe to this left onion since it's underneath of it. And we'll say add a position keyframe here and a keyframe here. And for this one, we're going to say that it's gonna travel a little bit slower. So we'll put it like down here. And let's see how it looks. And see, it kind of like catches up with it because
I love that.
non-moving, and this one's like telling it to be a little bit low. And then it just kind of goes straight back to it. Now you can do the same thing also if you wanted to do maybe as it fell, it has the same idea, but with the other onion, you go into the position. But actually we're gonna have a harder time with that because then it'll run into the bun, and we don't want that. So maybe it's better to stick with the second one. And we'll have the same sort of thing where maybe it drops a little bit earlier, but then it meets back up with its friend at the bottom. So it's up and down, but it looks a little funky. So play around with it,
Very friendly hamburger.
I know. I keep giving it like personification.
I really want to
it's going to make it hard to eat it.
Big old eyeballs or something on there too.
Which we honestly could do, because if you just go into the top bun layer or something like this, and you go to this area where you can create stuff, you have 2 different options that pop up. One is creates a shape or creates a mask. Mm-hmm. So normally, if you go onto a shape layer, you hold shift or something down, you could potentially add like another shape on top of it, and we can make a little bit of a Cute eye. I'm going to press Control D.
Now we're
Oops.
talking.
Yeah, we're going to go to contents.
How can you eat a hamburger with eyes? I don't know.
Reminds me of like the Geico commercials with the money stack with the little eyes on it. All right. I'm going to press Control D again, but this time I'm going to make it have black eyes here.
I love this right now. This makes me so happy.
It's makes it a lot harder to eat, I'll tell you that. But the cool thing is now, it's still attached to the same layer. So now it can pop up and down accordingly, which is fun. As with anything else, you could group these guys together. And then you could do something funny with them, like we're gonna call this right eye. We'll call this left eye. And then I'll press S to get S will give me the scale of the whole thing. But if we go to contents, see, I'm still forgetting to go over here because I'm just so ingrained.
I'm the exact same way. Yeah, that properties panel is awesome.
You can go down here and you can change it so that maybe when it reaches the top, like we say, go to like 110. No, it's gonna be bigger than that. We'll do 125. And then bring it back down to 100 again. And then we can copy this, and then we go to our right group, and go to scale. We can do the same thing. So Ryan,
now,
oh yeah, what's up?
I was gonna say, with these types of files, what are you typically making the most of? Is it food elements, characters?
Mostly characters so far. I helped out with this cool TV show. They were creating a website to kind of promote it with distributors, and for every single episode there was a silhouette that kind of transformed as you scroll down the page, because that's what's really helpful with these is you can go and you can actually create a script, or you can create a modifier so that it can be interactive with, like, while you scroll down on the app, or like maybe as you interact with the elements, like different things in the animations will hold until the user does it. And that's way more on the developer side, but when they have access to all of your animation through this Lottie, then it makes it a lot easier, which is nice.
Yeah. And hey, Penny, thanks for hopping in. You really did come in at the peak of seriousness as we add eyes to our hamburger.
I'm changing the anchor point so that it when it gets bigger in the right place. So there you go. There it is. He's a little bit shocked when he's woo. All right. So real quick, let's just finish up doing the tomatoes real quick, and then I'll show you guys how to make the burger flip. And then from there, we'll have just enough time to show you guys how to export to Lottie, which is actually very simple. And more so, the reason that we did Lotties today is just to show you that you can take these files that are After Effects, and they can just turn into Lotties with shape files very easily by just transforming them. This is the same sort of thing where we don't want it to pop up at all. So maybe that. You can also even go in here and add rotation if you'd like. I'm pressing U to show the letter U to show only things that have keyframes on it.
The Uber key.
Flip them. You say Uber? Is that what it is?
The Uber key, yeah. Or if you double tap it, it brings up just those soloed properties that you've affected.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful key.
I don't know. That's what I called it.
No, I mean, now
someone said it a long time ago.
Now
I was like,
now
oh,
it
yeah,
sticks.
always known that one.
So we'll continue to have this kind of flip back and forth. Now, what I did for my own personal one when we worked on this is I went ahead and I pre-composed this section of the patty and the cheese, because I knew that they were definitely going to have to live a little bit together. And what I did here is we'll have it pop up. Well, actually, before we even do that, we could animate it so that they move in place. So we'll do the same thing where we do position, just so that they go up the right section, you know. And this is gonna have to be a little bit lower.
These are like the fine details, so you can see
Yes.
all the elements. I mean, you don't want your cheese going too high, so.
Right. I, for the longest time, I had to work my way up into liking burgers when I was younger. I mean, I still am a picky eater, but like I like started off with just a burger and then just a burger with cheese and then just a burger with cheese and lettuce. And like now I'm kind of to a place where I'm throwing everything on there. But man, I was obnoxious as a child.
Yeah. How do you feel about those caramelized onions?
I love caramelized onions. I don't normally think I normally just end up going with like just regular onions, but
Yeah, it's a lot of
caramelized is
work.
also way up there, right? It depends who's
It's
making
really
it. Am I
not, but
making
it
it?
is in a
Like,
weird. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. You'd be amazed at how lazy I can get when I get hangry.
I think they make Snickers for that.
Exactly. All right. So now, at least with that, we basically have at least a pretty open,
Yeah, it's looking pretty
open
good.
and closed guy. And we have things that we can continue to adjust, like the onions, or whatnot. But I do want to make sure that we really touch on how I made this. Save your work, guys, if you haven't saved yet. And I have not saved. So
yeah, we got about 10 more minutes and then we'll kind of recap on everything, kind of go over everything we've gone over.
All right. So what I did for my patty side, this is kind of the hardest part real quick. So we're going to do it. I just go to pre-compose these guys and we're going to call this patty flip. What I ended up doing is I knew that this is how it was going to kind of exist. I knew at the top I wanted it to flip, but I knew that I couldn't really use mats or anything else. So in here,
because
if we look at
that
our
Lottie
contents,
plugin, right?
because of our Lottie plugin, exactly. So we're going to actually go back and I want to get my patty outlines and my grill mark outlines. I'm going to copy them and we're going to put them into this area and I'm going to paste it over here. Okay. And so at the very top of it, I know that I need to make these grill marks exist inside of that. So what I'll do is I'll take out the ellipse tool, make sure that it's attached. I'm going to go to make sure that it has create mask rather than that. So then when I go on here and I select it like this, I can then create, this is in the way, sorry, these burger patty outlines. And what's helpful to do here is even within our comp, we already have a pre-comp, but we can make as many pre-comps as we want. Go ahead and make another pre-comp with this masked object in place. So I'm going to go here and pre-compose, and we're going to say inside patty. And what that lets us do is now it works as kind of like a shape. And what we can do is we can actually use this scale tool as long as it's not constrained to the proportions. So we unclick that. You can now kind of go here and change it as you want. And then we have our patty outlines, which I'm going to go ahead and delete.
Would you say this is how you shape your hamburger patty?
Right.
Sorry,
like from a grill thing. Yeah, exactly. And since they're both since they're both shape layers and like a pre-composed layer, we can go in and we can line it up like this. And all we'll have to do is go and rotate with the scale in mind. So we're going to open up our scale here and goes up. And we'll say that at this point, we want it to be 100 and 100 like this. I'll click it like that. We'll bring it down. What we say we had 42, right? Something like this. And it said parents could work, right? I gotta remember how I set up this file. Let's see.
There's a bit of a conversation going on in the chat. Have you ever used the set mat effect versus actually doing a mat? Will that work with these?
The mats get real goofy. So it doesn't have it specified on like the effects that it holds.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it would work, but set mat is a great effect to have if you were working like outside doing something else.
And in my experience with that, most of the time you still have to do some form of pre-composition and rasterization to get it to work properly the way you want. So
all right, so we're gonna bring this up here. and then we know that it's going to flip to an extent, and then we want it to continue to flip. So then we'll bring it down. Where's my thing? Oh yeah, because I have my anchor point kind of in the wrong place here. So I'm going to press Y. And we're going to make sure that it's centered here. So then you can go, and we'll bring up the position here. And then with scale, bring it out. We're not going to focus on the other thing right now. And then we'll bring it back down.
And this is how we fake a burger flip in 2D.
Yeah. And you'll have to play with some of the timing of this too, so that it feels right. But that's all we're really doing, is just playing with this
So they just
scaling.
rotate together. Yeah.
Yeah. And you keep in mind kind of how this is kind of hiding as well. So you'll go in with the scale for this factor, and you can kind of adjust accordingly. Sometimes it's helpful to just like completely lie and just like
you on
hide
that.
it, right? So that you can then flip it around. And so keeping in mind that there's going to be some visibility here, you can actually go in and grab your path and really adjust how it's going to be portrayed. So let's see here. We're going to say at this path, we're going to do the little trick here again where we can bring this up. If you highlight it all, you can actually click and drag it for something like this. I'm going to copy and paste it like that. So that it shows underneath of it. Turn off the, oops. There we go. And it's just a nice finesse of being able to flip it. Flip it, get it. And then inside Patty, like we might want to add a position keyframe to it as well, to then have it kind of coincide with the flipping of the Patty. So let's look at this real quick. Let's see. Definitely need some more work for it, but for the time being that we have, like
yeah, I think the concept is for sure there. Could use, a little bit of finesse, but I mean, honestly, we're also watching it frame by frame right now. So
yeah. And then as it kind of appears over here as well, you're going to want to go ahead and actually duplicate your inside Patty, because you want it to also kind of appear, right? So let's get rid of our other keyframes. And we'll know that as it flips atop here, you'll also continue to have a burger patty flip that comes from nothing and happens on the top. So go to 0 here, right? I'll do Alt and left bracket to make it end like this, and then it'll kind of switch over. And go like that. So I'm going to show you that there's a concept for you guys. I'm going to, since we're limited on time, I'm going to go ahead and just open up the one that I've actually worked on when I had more time for it, and just kind of break that down for you guys. So going to the Patty. And the way that I have here, we went ahead and actually animated some of the cheese as well. So that's why I have this cheese on top. But if you look here, I have the Patty side. I have it go up, and it does a weird morphing. And then if you look at my Patty outlines here, similarly, this is the top that I also have morphing in a weird way. And then I have my grill marks, which, like everything else, pops up and does a weird morphing. But when you line them up properly and stack them on top like we were doing, and you finesse it, you can get it to be, also it was so tiny, sorry. You can go here and create something like that.
Juicy.
So it just takes a little bit of finessing. And I accidentally took off the cheese there, so let's put the cheese back on. Now,
Yeah.
um,
How do we turn this the
into some Lottie
Lottie?
time, right? So Lottie is really awesome because most of the work is in the preparation, and you guys saw that we did it with creating it in vectors of some kind, taking our vectors and turning them into shapes. And the last thing that we do is you just go to Window, Extensions. Where's my Lottie?
And this is
Oops.
something that obviously needs to be installed separately, right?
Needs to be installed separately, but it is entirely free
Free.
and very easy to download. And I think you can even get it through the Adobe Marketplace
Well,
for
imagine that.
extensions or what have you. But if you also want to just go through and get it through here, you can search and download it straight from their website. And the other cool thing is a lot of people put animations online for free for you to use. So if I say hamburger on here, it will give me a bunch of hamburger menus like we were talking about earlier. And so
Oh yeah.
maybe we should say cheeseburger or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, and people have different ones that you can use and implement them into your apps and stuff, which is really neat. But all you have to do to add yours is you'll have this pop up here, and it will tell you all your compositions you have. You'll say right click here. You can also go into your settings if you wanted to, and you can mess with any of the things that you want to turn on, turn off. If it has assets in it, like a JPEG or PNG that you need to adjust with, you can have it change your expressions into keyframes because expressions are not supported. So it'll try to do it. Sometimes it gets wonky, but you can kind of mess with it. And then also if you wanted to add any metadata onto it, so maybe your developer can work with it. For my experience, I have not messed with that too much. So I just go here and I click the little green button. It will render the animation for you.
Oh
It will
wow.
give you a little
Super easy.
preview. And up here in the top right, we don't have it right now because I actually went ahead and I deleted it. But remember when we had those set mats earlier and we had to delete it, there will be a little hazard sign and you'll click on it and it'll say like, this is not supported in these formats. Do you still want to save it to your workplace or not? And so I'll save it to my workspace, I'll put it in new project, upload. It's uploading it and it only takes a few seconds. It's already there. It has your background. And then if I just go to my own Lottie, I can go to my dashboard, go to my first projects, grab my cheeseburger, and all you have to do, the only thing you have to do to give to the developer is like a quick little export of it. And you can either send them this link and then they can do it, or you can have it download and export as a Lottie JSON. It has some other stuff where it like optimizes it or whatever .lottie. But let's say when you download this really quick, and let's say this. Oh, I'm not a coder, so I don't have it open. But if you were to go ahead and you like open this file in like a notepad, it's literally just like quick little text that points to something else that you can just plop straight into like a website. So let me see if I can open this with.
And is that's the full file size, 54 kilobytes?
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is basically what it is. And you just put this, they take it, they throw this in whatever piece of work they have, or .lottie. And you can just have them copy and paste it directly into whatever they're working on, and then it just pops up on the website. And you can have it so that it's not like a GIF that is constantly going off of speed. You can change the speed. You can reverse it. You
That's
can
so
have it
cool.
work with a scrolling. You can have it happen after someone presses a button. And you can also add it to the community and what have you. So it's really helpful. Like I said, if you want to check out the case files of it, of other companies that have, oh yeah, like here's this is one of the ones that I did for the web series I was talking about, the episode. Like it was a guy stealing health from someone, and so as you scrolled, it popped up.
Yeah, these are great. So cool. Nice
Same
and
with like,
small, loads really fast. Oh
yeah.
wow.
And so
You
I
did
kind of
this?
can just come across. Yeah. So
Yeah,
this
dude,
is
your
like
work is
actual use
awesome.
case. Also did something with like a little animation for a logo, and so that was on a website when it went open. So they're really helpful.
Love
They're
it.
nice. They're simple. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, Ryan. Everyone in the chat or watching in the future, definitely go check out Ryan's work. He's got some really cool stuff. We made a pretty sweet, well, I'm sorry, a really cute hamburger, and we even put some eyeballs on it at one point. So it was really fun. And we started off in Illustrator and then shaped everything, brought it all over to After Effects, and yeah, kind of animated it and made a teeny tiny, less than a 1 megabyte file, which I find pretty impressive. Those are great for websites. So definitely be sure to watch the replay if you missed any of it. Coming up next, we do have Pixie Pew, who is doing a animation 201 course, and the new series explores the 12 principles of animation and will teach you all about using After Effects. So go learn some more. And be sure to follow and subscribe on YouTube and Instagram at Adobe Live. And Ryan, thanks so much for being here. I definitely learned a lot and it was really fun. So
Yeah,
yeah,
thank you for
thank you,
having
man.
me. I
Appreciate
had
it.
a great time. We'll be back, or I'll be back on Adobe Live a week from today again for a another episode of Adobe Live. So I'll see you all next week if I don't see you on my own channel.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And everyone, stick around.
All
Take it
right,
easy.
guys.